Welcome to Brains Gone Bold. We're happy to have you here with us as always. And today we have a very special guest we're happy to have as well. Joining us in the studio is Patrice Matamoros. Patrice's history, experience, background is very interesting, and your mindset and how you approach your work and your personal life is also very interesting. So we're excited to have you here and kind of dive into a little bit about your story and what makes you tick. Happy to have you.
Well, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much, both of you,
Absolutely.
for including me in this.
Yeah.
We're so grateful.
So for those listening, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and kind of whatever highlights of your story you would like to share to get us started learning about you?
Sure. Actually, I want to talk just a little bit about what I'm doing right now. And I'm the regional president for Junior Achievement of Western Pennsylvania. And I've been in this role for over 5 years now.
Wow.
And prior to that, I was the CEO of an organization called P3R, which is responsible for putting together the Dick's Sporting Goods Pittsburgh Marathon.
Wow.
So I guess my experience and skill set is interesting in the sense that, you know, who does a startup for a nonprofit, right? So I'd say the Pittsburgh Marathon, when we brought it back from it was really 5 years plus in hiatus, and it had completely gone away from the city, and I was asked to help bring it back. So
do you mind me asking,
yes.
why did it go away? Like, what happened?
Well, there was a title sponsor, and everything was managed out of one particular corporation. And when that corporation made a decision to support another major event, the marathon kind of went to the wayside at that point in time.
Right.
And I think there just wasn't enough interest. And then in order to run a marathon in a major American city, it's several $1 million. So you had to have quite a lot of fundraising ability to keep it going. So so I started that on my credit card at the time because there was no funding. And
were you just really interested in making it happen? Are you a marathoner and like, well, I want this to happen?
Great question.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. So it's serendipitous. I was a runner in Montana.
Okay.
I was a state champion. I got a full ride scholarship to Arizona.
Wow.
I ran there. I transferred to the University of Florida, and my career was cut extremely short when I kind of was on a long run, turned off a curb the wrong way and tore my labrum, which was in my hip, and ended up needing a hip replacement.
And you were so young.
Yeah. So,
oh my goodness.
So that was when I got asked to do that. It was like I could kind of be involved in running again.
Yes.
So it was really serendipitous for me.
Yeah. So you came into it with a natural passion for what you were doing to begin with.
I did. And it was great because, you know, I'd always been a runner in races, but I had never run a race from an organizational perspective.
Okay.
So it was a lot to learn.
Yes.
And I had less than a year to raise $1 million in order to put this marathon on in the city of Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Wow.
And so how did you know what to do to go about raising that kind of money in that short period of time? Was it connections that you had, experience that you had, being resourceful? How did you go about it?
Well, I'd say initiative and resourcefulness are really key to who I am and where I come from and how I was raised. So, and I also, before I had kids, I was in a for-profit sector. I worked for a division of Ford Motor Company. So my experience was in major sales, like $50 million accounts. And so I figured that I would be able to raise the money. I just didn't know how to run a race. So it was about, you know, for me, I was consulting in the area and working as a volunteer with kids in tow. So I had connections and contacts. So I immediately, and it's such an exciting thing too. The Pittsburgh Marathon started in 1985. And it went out in 2000, I think it was 3 or 4.
Okay.
And basically had really, really great reputation.
I mean, it's such a great city.
Yeah.
And to be able to, you know, I am not a runner. I don't know if that's a surprise to you, but I'm not a runner. And to be able to, you know, just drive or walk through Pittsburgh is so cool. The different neighborhoods, all the stuff.
Yeah.
And so to me, like, I think marathons in cities are iconic. And so to not have one feels like, how do they not have one?
Mm-hmm.
So pretty cool. Oh my, my mind is, Maria, of course, had mentioned it to me, but to understand your background which by the way, go Gators. I can't be a Floridian without saying that at UF, but to have that understanding and then go, yeah, I'm resourceful. I can make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where does that come from? And I also have to acknowledge the fact that we recognize we did not give you a full intro. We didn't allow you. We immediately just bounced on you. So sorry about that.
That's fine. No. So yeah, I think it was just kind of half crazy on my part too, right?
Because you kind of have to be.
Thinking back on it, it was a risk. I put it on my credit card. I had no doubt I would raise the money. I would figure it out. But, people have pointed out like, wow, that was a really big risk you took personally.
Right.
Mind you, I got paid back because I ended up closing the deals that were on the table, ended up bringing on more partnerships. And then, of course, the runners came. So
it made it a very successful event.
Yeah. So out of the gates, year one, having less than a year to pull it off and not knowing what to do, I was able to quickly gather enough information and worked other marathons across the United States to see what are they doing? How are they doing it? And then I was starting to gather resources of people from those marathons that we could enlist to help us with ours, so that I didn't start from scratch.
Sure.
And it didn't have to be mine. It was something I did as ours. So it was really serving the community and pulling this together. And so it was a risk, but it really paid off. We didn't know what to expect on runners. The largest marathon previously was about 6,000 runners. And so I said, well, we'll go for 5,000. And if we did 5,000, that would, be really great. And the board kept saying, no, don't put that number out there because just in case you don't reach it, then you're going to look like a failure. And I'm like, but I'm a real goal-oriented person.
Right, I need a number.
So I'm making my goals. I'm writing them down and they're visible. And one board member would come in and see the 5,000. He'd erase it every time. I told you, do not say that number out loud. I'm like, it's on my board. I won't say it, but that's my goal.
Writing in invisible ink.
Exactly. So it was January 1, prices went up and the marathons run the first weekend of May. So that's a huge time for runners to sign up. So we had a landslide of registrations coming in January. And we were only projecting 5,000. It went to 7,500. And then
amazing.
We're like, oh my gosh, we're full. We have prepared for 5,000. We stopped it at 7,500. And then we had all these runners on Facebook coming out, saying, I want in.
And why can't I?
Well, I want in. And I had Allegheny Conference had given us a cube. I had one cube to work in that year. And so I remember even runners coming there and bringing flowers and saying, will you please let me come?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They were begging you to get in.
Begging me and showing me their medals. And so I did a post and basically said, you know what, we're gonna expand it to 10,000. And we had a wait list, so we were able to expand it to 10,000. But
holy crap,
that came with, oh my goodness, we have to up our
that's infrastructure. Like from an operations standpoint, first of all, I can't, and I want to talk about what led you down the path of I can do this, because I think there's so many people that have these big and wild dreams and just feel like it's insurmountable. So I want to go back there, but from an infrastructure perspective, 5,000 and then doubling that of people and just boots on the ground, runners, and then support staff in that, in those walkways, it's not just the runners. It's all the stuff that goes on putting this on. Like, holy crap.
Yeah. It was a lot. And that's when I think when we got to race day, there was just a skeleton crew. I'd enlisted a lot of my friends from
can't even imagine.
I was a stay-at-home mom for the first formative years of my kids' life.
Right.
And so I knew a lot of moms who had chosen also to stay home, but they also wanted to do something exciting. And so it was
talk about exciting.
They came in. And so these women were
moms get stuff done.
They do. And these are professional women, who had just taken the time off to take care of their kids. And so it was kind of I always compare it I'm Dorothy on the yellow brick road, gathering my Tin Man, my Scarecrow, and trying to make it happen. But I'd say that it's a collection and a combination of multiple people coming together for a just cause. So
it's amazing, an amazing story.
It really is. It feels huge.
Yeah. I'm really interested in, similar to what Jeanine was talking about, but the idea of resourcefulness and knowing that not only can you do this or believing that you can do this, but having the means to figure it out. Where do you think that came from for you? And you mentioned kind of how you grew up. Is there anything that you can share with us about that you think led to this?
Yeah, definitely. It totally tied into everything here. Is I was born in California and then went right off to Montana. I was raised in Montana, and we were in the country. We were basically, my dad was a Vietnam vet, and we were really survivalists. We chopped our own wood for heat. We also grew our food. We hunted, we fished.
Oh, wow. So you had to be resourceful.
We had to be resourceful, but you also gain a lot of competency and confidence, knowing that you can take care of yourself. And we worked really, really hard. We never had vacations. The whole summer was spent preparing for the winter. So it would be going to the mountains in the summer to chop wood, load it up, and then come back, unload it every single weekend. And my dad was hardcore. He wanted us to be able to fend for ourselves. So he would, on these trips, like to get wood, he would be like, it was up to us to catch fish to eat. And if we didn't eat, he brought MREs. He had to eat MREs. So we were really motivated to catch fish. Right. And they even had little cigarettes in them. So we were like,
oh my gosh, that's not the fish, the MREs.
Yeah,
okay,
the MREs, not the fish. Yeah, exactly. So
that's amazing. Like, listen, my dad taught me how to change a tire, and I thought I was pretty cool. I was resourceful, but that is small potatoes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you were growing up and experiencing that, did you have an appreciation for it in the moment, or did you resent it in any way?
Oh, I was always told my mom, as soon as I can move out, I'm moving out.
I'm out of here.
It's this hard work you have. It is work around the clock.
Right.
And to romanticize, like if you watch Yellowstone or you watch these Dallas cattle ranches, and movie stars are showing this amazing lifestyle. And I can say firsthand, it is not that lifestyle, because
it's work.
You're working all the time. And I think that helped because it became, your work is your vocation. It keeps you alive. It teaches you a different thing about work so that you're not looking to survive. And he even one time, my dad wanted us to understand and learn survival skills. So we went to the Bob Marshall Wilderness, and we really didn't have any food. And we used topographical maps to navigate our way through the wilderness. And I remember the first night, he'd brought one little tiny bag. It was a freeze-dried bag of chili mac for 4 of us. And we had hiked all day, and we were so hungry. Yeah. And so we were like really motivated, because he's like, what are we going to do tomorrow? We're going to go find fish. So we all got the map, and I remember we were hungry, and there are these little strawberries, and they're like tiny strawberries in the wild. And we were all fighting over, this is my area to get strawberries. This is your area. Yeah. And we went to bed early because we were starving. And, and so we woke up and hiked so far to get fish.
Yeah. So you said there was 4 of you. So your dad, your mom, and then you had a brother or a sister?
No, it was my dad, my brother, and my sister and I.
So 3. And what was the age range?
So we were all like in our teens, our early teens, I would say.
Give your dad
between
a lot of credit.
Middle school to high school. Well, but we weren't like your typical teens either, right? Yeah. Like our teens ignore us. They're on their screens.
Yes. Well, I'm picturing these snarky teens, but you're right. I mean, you guys were not groomed in that way.
Oh, no, we're not spoiled at all. We were like, our Christmas was getting our underwear for the year and our snowmobile suits and all of the staples. So, so it's just, okay, this is what we're doing. Right. So it creates this flexibility in how you think about things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the dad that's here that you're visiting.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was just telling him yesterday, I was like, Dad, I'm going to talk about the Bob Marshall when you left us without food. and we started laughing and talking about it because he just laughed a lot about it. It's all funny now.
Yeah. It wasn't so funny then, was it?
Sure.
Well, we didn't even think. We were just trying to eat, and we were trying to get to
that
fish.
survival mode.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's no water pumps. You're drinking from creeks, and
Oh my God.
it's just a totally different world.
I watch survivalist shows.
Yeah.
And they always do things like there's one on Netflix, I can't remember what it's called, Out in the Wild.
Yeah.
And I mean, they just drop them, and whoever outlasts, you don't know the other people. And they always talk about drinking like creek water and that you have to boil it first. And some people are like, I don't have water. I'm just going to drink it. And then they start like vomiting and whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about you, like, we don't have a pump. Like, what do you do?
We just have our little cup and we put it into a waterfall that's free flowing, not in still water
Right,
to
not
gather
stagnant.
water.
Okay.
But it was
Holy
kind of
cow.
crazy to think about it now because we all have water bottles right now.
Yes, I know.
We would never
I
go
know.
hiking
We
without
are
a water
so
bottle.
accustomed to this
Yeah.
easier
Hampered.
lifestyle.
And
Yeah.
and it was more like, oh, we'll just find water along the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And so at what point did that become something that you feel grateful for? Because you're talking about it from that lens right now, it seems. Like you're grateful for that experience.
Yes.
But growing up, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I think what it does, you become appreciative of what you're able to do and how you're able to still survive. And you become really more confident about taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I can do this.
Yeah.
I got this.
Yeah.
I did it.
Exactly.
And so surviving in the wilderness, after you've done that, running a marathon doesn't seem
feels
so
like-
bad, right?
Yeah,
Do you have running water? Okay, I'm in.
right. And that's
We can do this.
a totally different kind of wilderness there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So-
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that, you used to say, as soon as I'm old enough, I'm getting out of here. So how and when did you?
Like, I think it was 3 days after I graduated. I was 17. I graduated early.
Mhm.
And my dad's like, you got to go find a job and move. And I had a full scholarship. So I ended up moving for that summer. I ended up having to go find a job, and I got a job at Glacier Park. So I ended up moving out at 17 and really just surviving. And he used to say, bears kick their offspring off, get out of their den to go fend for themselves. And, I think he thought he was helping us.
Absolutely. And in some ways he did.
Yeah, but it could have gone a different way, but it was hard. It could have gone a different way. And
It could have.
we were a little, upset about that for a while because,
I'm sure.
You go to college and it's on you.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure there's your roommates or your suite mates or whatever, and you see the kind of lives that are very different from your own, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think about 17. My son is 17.
Yeah.
And wow.
Can you imagine kicking him out
I'm
right
not
now?
ready to kick him out.
You won't, and this is not a dig on you, but you didn't prepare him the way her dad.
I did not.
Right?
No.
And so that would be so unkind and unfair. And I'm not saying it wasn't unkind,
right.
but you at least had skills that, Vincent doesn't, to no fault of his own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I'm just like flummoxed.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So I'm so curious because as I've gotten to know you a little bit over the past year, one of the things for me that is so interesting is kind of your mindset. And we've talked about this, which is very much a mindset of positivity, right?
Yep.
And so I would love to dig into that a little bit with you. And I'm coming at this from a personal angle as someone who struggles with that, where it's not as easy for me to think positively. I'm constantly working on it. And when I see that in you, it's inspiring. And I'm so curious about kind of where that comes from. Is that something you've had to develop over the years? Do you have to work at it? Does it come naturally to you? Can you talk a little bit about kind of your mindset?
Yeah, I think it's, the choice, right? You get a choice. And I think when you have a hard, your upbringing is a little different than what most, it's a little rougher. It's a little more, you're working really hard growing up and doing everything, and you can make a choice. And we always used laughter and humor in our family, and we would find things funny. And then I ran. I was in cross country and track, and I remember going to races and on the way to races, listening to positive, stuff on the radio. And then reading books. I read a lot. And the Magic of Thinking Big, I think, really set the Magic of Thinking Big was a huge book for me growing up because you could change how you thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I've read it, reread it. I've loved that book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was it because, I was in high school, not popular. It was a tiny high school. I graduated with 17 kids.
Oh, wow.
So it was really rural.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was not a popular person. And then even when I ran, that was a way that I created identity, created confidence. And I was winning because I was running so much.
Yeah.
And
So going back to that power of positivity and mindset, your running career was suddenly cut short.
Yes.
After that was such a big part of your identity and your confidence building and everything. How did you cope with that when you came to the realization that I'm no longer going to be a runner?
Right. Your identity definitely changed because you're not a runner anymore.
Right. And I think about it, Jeanine and I actually were just, I think, talking about this the other day where, I played sports my entire life growing up through high school. And then I graduated high school and that was it. It was just over.
Yeah.
And for years after that, I felt like I was grieving the loss of that part of me that no longer existed. And so did you go through that or how did your mindset play into being able to move forward from it?
Yeah, I guess it's like, look at, it was a huge bummer. It was really hard. And I looked at it from the perspective of, okay, so I can't do this. It's bad, like not good for me mentally. But at the same time, what did I learn? What tools did I pick up from all the things I've done? And what if I applied the same philosophy to work and business, right? Because if you think about business and you think about being an athlete, I mean, you've got your long days. You got to get your long days in. You have your speed days that you get in. You're really strategic and tactical. And if you approach work like a training, and you're training for a race, and you are training with that intent, you'll succeed. So I started practicing with that immediately. But I never, ever saw myself, and I had a bigger vision for myself too. Yeah. Thinking I want to do more. I want to be more. And even when I was waitressing at Red Lobster, I was literally talking to my manager saying, I want to do more because I was still in school and I was doing communications and PR and marketing. And I said, I want to do more. I want to be the media ambassador for Lobster Fest. And he's like, okay, if you can talk the higher beings up. And so General Mills owned Red Lobster. So I started just reaching out to their marketing director and talking to him and saying, can I come and be the spokesperson? And 2 years later, he finally said, okay, Patrice, you could be the Lobster Fest. Down. You're the Lobster Fest girl. And it worked. And I would go on their, the morning show and talk about all the features and the lobsters and ... And then it became a thing where they said, oh, this is really cool. And so then I would do that every year, but I never saw myself as just this. I wanted to be more. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just wanted to do some absolutely in business.
So there's this thought process that some people have and then others just can't figure out. I don't know if it's resourcefulness. I'm not sure what it is, but what you just described is obviously persistence. Yes. Because it took 2 years for that to come to fruition. And then they were like, yeah, this was pretty good. Yeah. But you didn't stop there. You didn't go, okay, well, I've reached my goal. Yeah. Now I'm done. Instead, there was this continued, and there is this continued search for more. When I was in grad school, my grad school paper to get in was titled, I Want More. And I have some of that thirst and drive, certainly not to the extent that you have. But when I think about her kids, I've got nieces and nephews that are at that, critical point in life. And, you don't want to see them beat down. You don't want to hand it to them either, because if we just hand it to them, there's no lesson in that. And so what do you think, if you were to tease through the lessons that you've learned over time and say, there's this one thing that if I were to give my younger self advice, it would be this. Is there something that you're like, ooh.
Yeah, I think you're mentally capable of accomplishing anything with action behind it. And I think that if you can't be frozen in place by indecision, you have to start with just one thing and then just another thing. It's like, again, you compare it to being an athlete. Your first run or your first workout is awful.
Yes, it
and
is.
you have to but if you're diligent with that action, it will eventually not be awful. You'll eventually have what you want and be who you want, but you have to stick with it and you have to keep going, understanding it's really hard and it's not going to feel good all the time. And you're not going to feel like doing it all the time. So it's just starting somewhere and taking that step.
Like baby steps.
And then another step.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things you said when you asked Patrice about, what do you do after you realize this running career is no longer the thing that I've currently set and you channel it into something else. I think about, so I've got 2 nephews who play hockey and, they both want to achieve more in their hockey careers. We all know that professional athletes, the people that reach the top, it's like 1%. It's this very small number. And so, I want them to hear this from you. I want, as I'm listening, they've got to listen to this because being able to channel that, obviously there's disappointment. You're not saying that you were disappointed and it was definitely shook you up. But then you go, okay, how do I take this and parlay it into something else instead of stopping here and wallowing in this, to channel that. So they have to, Tobin and Aiden, This is the thing.
Well, yeah. And it's also, I think the key, that would be the other thing is, putting yourself out of your mind and saying this is hard and the self-talk that's negative, but make yourself a character. If you're reading about yourself in a book, how would you want your main character to act? Right? So your main character just gets a below delivered saying you're not going to run at the level you thought you were going to run in. So if you're reading about yourself, are you going to want to throw a temper tantrum and read about your character, getting caught up in the woes of their misery and pity and then also, or turning
That's a terrible book.
Right. Exactly. And you're not going to want to read about that character because it's like, ooh. And so if you place yourself as your main character and you're reading about yourself and how you're reacting and how do you want your readers to see your main character. And I think that's the key too.
How would you define yourself as the character in your book?
It depends on the day.
Okay.
So that's the other key is, I think it's your life, it's your rules, it's your game, right? So if you allow other people to make your life rules and to play by play tell you what your game is, you're never going to be satisfied. And your game may not include what their idea of what you should be doing is. But if you are listening to your inner self and going in the path that you need to because it's you and you're confident in your ability, then it doesn't matter what other people think. And that's the other big piece of, I think, everything is you sit there and sometimes people are not in favor of what you're doing and you get outcry about, what is your intent? Here's what your impact is. You ruined my life or whatever. And you just have to know you're acting in the way that you can.
Yeah, I think this ties in a little bit too. We were doing an episode on kind of shame and embarrassment and, that sort of thing. And that whole idea of we kind of walk around constantly worried about what other people are thinking and their judgment of us and that kind of thing.
And our shame doesn't belong with us. It's on something else.
Yeah. And it takes so much courage too. As you were talking, I was thinking through whenever you were reaching out to General Mills, like the amount of courage you had.
General Mills.
To do that.
It's huge. I mean, Red Lobster's huge, right? So General Mills, it's huge. And to think, okay, I'm just going to call General Mills.
And I just kept calling them and writing them. And that was before email too.
Right. Oh my gosh. So you had to do pen to paper. And actually put it in the mail and send it. Like, it's crazy.
I may have
It's crazy wonderful.
It is. But like even with when I was still just working, like volunteering with Kids in Tow, I was talking to a friend of mine from Madison Square Garden who was in Pittsburgh. She was working working remotely in those days. That was not common. She traveled a lot with the Rockettes and she was, and I said to her, I was like, have you ever thought about getting involved coming to Pittsburgh? Would the Rockettes ever come to Pittsburgh? She goes, actually, we're working on that plan right now. And there's going to be an announcement and we are. And I had been volunteering for a nonprofit. And I said, oh, would you be willing to do a sneak peek a dress rehearsal practice for a charity before the open.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, that's really interesting. I think that has a great twist to it. And so they agreed that they would do this.
Yeah.
And, but I had to sell out the facility, the theater, and I needed to raise over, I think it was $80,000. So she invited, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do, but I got to figure it out somehow. She invited me to the press conference, and I went and I introduced myself to every single person at the press conference and ended up meeting a representative from Smith Barney at the time and said, would you be willing to support a charitable effort for a sneak peek, a dress rehearsal, and it's a private VIP event before it kicks off? And he actually said yes. But I had to shake every hand. That's kind of what you have to be willing to do. You have to put yourself into character. This is your character for the day. You can't think about what fear you have and you're embarrassed to go up and what are you talking about? I had no pitch deck, no anything. Just sold it the dream.
Yes.
Oh,
that's it. Sold the dream.
I need to talk about this some more. So when you say put yourself into character, so you present to me as someone who's very authentic.
Oh, I love this.
And we talk about this a lot, and when you say put yourself into character, does that feel in any way to you as inauthentic?
No, because I have to think about my character has integrity.
Okay.
My character has leadership ability, but it's not maybe going to look like what it looks like in the movies, right? But when you're reading a book and you're envisioning your character in your book, again, you're your own heroine. And what are you doing? And I think that is probably a key is organizing a charitable event for a nonprofit becomes a just cause that people
can. Because it's not self-serving. You're doing it on behalf of a worthy cause.
Yeah. And it's those like core values that you carry with you no matter what quote unquote character you're playing. Which allows you to always feel like you're doing this from the point of being you.
Yeah.
And it also sounds like to me the character that you play is the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Right? It's not being somebody else, right? It's the best version of yourself.
Yes.
It's the one that enters the room confidently. It's the one that understands what your end goal is.
Right.
And that's what you're working toward. And so you can't bring that insecurity with you. You can't bring all of those.
No.
That stays outside. The character today doesn't have those things.
And
I think it's amazing that you can actually channel that. I was thinking about the conversation with Katie yesterday. So my niece, we have her on the show. She's 19. And she's amazing and poised and just impressive. And one of the things that she said that was so prevalent, because we were really trying to get at, like, it's different now to grow up than it was when we were growing up. And, what would you want grownups to know about this thing? And one of the things she said is because of social media, the cancel culture for people her age is so huge and there's so much pressure with that. And I think about this character that you become, again, just the best version of yourself. That doesn't care about that. Like, I'm still going forward. This is my goal. This is for this current phase of my life. It's not my end goal. It is my current goal.
Right.
And so if I can be this character that doesn't care about this cancel culture, because that's not part of my story.
Right.
That's not the way the story is going to be written.
Right.
It's an amazing gift to be able to help somebody to believe in not only the story, but themselves and the character they're working toward. Love this so much.
Yes. And I can't help but think about when we use the context of the character piece, Jeanine and I have this back and forth kind of disagreement, if you want to call it that, about the idea of fake it until you make it. Because
I'm a supporter.
She's a supporter. And I usually come at it from the angle of like, no, because that's not being real, and I've started to kind of understand her aspect of it or her perspective. And what you're talking about allows me to do that some more, which is even if I have these fears, insecurities, whatever it might be, no, not today. I'm going to put that, on the back burner for the moment. I'm going to be the best version of myself. And that doesn't necessarily mean faking it.
No, it's leaving your ego out.
Yeah.
Because you're attached to things and outcomes when you have ego, right?
Yep.
And you have self-interest in ego. You overthink things too much with ego. So it's the detachment of your ego, knowing that you're going to do the right thing for what needs to happen at this moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And guess what? It may fail, but at the end of the day, you tried it and now you know more.
Mhm.
And now you can move beyond that. So
Mhm.
it's making those decisions and acting as your character. And when you have a crisis moment and you're going, what is the anatomy of a crisis?
Mhm.
Right? So you have to have this personal crisis in your life. How do you get through your crisis? You have
Yeah.
to see beyond the crisis because the crisis will keep you frozen.
Mhm.
And you have to know that everybody goes through crisis. So
Yeah.
I would look at like major, like at this point, you see spectacular crashes, right? Where
Mhm.
key people fail and
So
they have
publicly.
to get up every day, look in the mirror, knowing people are out to get them or not liking them or downing them. So you really have to go and move beyond that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yeah.
And one of the things, Maria, first of all, I think you, Patrice, put great voice to, and to me made it come very lifelike. When I think of the fake it till you make it,
Mhm.
what I couldn't articulate was you're still the same person,
Mhm.
right? The thing that you're faking is that you're not insecure, that you're not lacking confidence or whatever, but everything else is still the authentic you.
That's
the
like a light
distinction.
bulb for me
Yes,
right now. It is because I've always thought of the fake it till you make it piece is like I'm going in pretending that I'm not who I am. And that is kind of makes me think that, okay, then what I'm saying is I am someone who's not confident, insecure, fearful.
Right.
And that's not necessarily true, nor should I want that to be my identity.
Right.
Right.
I wrote down have main character energy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So in every situation, particularly, high pressure ones, main character energy is what we're, shooting for.
Yes.
So.
And you're controlling the freight train in your mind, right? Because it can go.
It's coming.
It can.
And it goes off the tracks sometimes.
Exactly. You're like, whoa, drive it somewhere different, not down the mountain.
Yes.
Not today.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But then you have to work backwards from disaster then, right? So if you're afraid to move and then you're going, well, what happens if you don't move? And what happens if you move forward and it becomes a disaster? Then how do you limit the amount of disaster it becomes? And how do you limit the amount of failure you will feel, right?
Right.
And if you go in unabashedly, just cautiously, you're never going to get the full intent or make the full extent of what you wanted to do.
Right.
So you might as well go in and crash. I always say it's like a triple Lutz every day. And I crash spectacularly every day. And I learned from that one, right? Because that's what it makes great stories.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Later.
Yes.
It's not now, it's later. With the marathon, there is always with navigating many people through city streets, and there's many, many opportunities for complete failure, for complete chaos with so many volunteers, so many people, spectators, runners, and our staff. I noticed, they would just lose their minds on little things towards race weekend that didn't go just right? Or somebody barks out a demand because of fear and creates chaos within our team. And I'd say, hey, something, it's managing that disaster up front. So right before race weekend, I went through the series of emergency actions. Here's where ambulances are. Here's this. Really talk through crisis planning and management. And I'd say, and for all those little things that happen, make sure you video it or take a picture so that we can talk about it later and laugh.
Right.
And so they used to have these contests where, so-and-so took his, the man lift and backed it into the city trash and just crunched it. And we'd have pictures. That would be our wall of pictures, or a dumpster fire at our storage shed. And it went from being, oh my gosh, this is a disaster into
comedy material.
Oh, this is a great story to tell when we get back together.
Yes.
And
what a great way to diffuse that potential fireball.
Oh my goodness. I love
amazing.
that so much. And I know you were talking about using laughter to kind of get through things, and you did that growing up. And so you carry that into like your professional life with the team.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great tool.
And that also creates an environment where they're not afraid of those things happening as much.
Exactly.
And so from a perspective of your team not being afraid to fail.
Right.
right? Because they know that at the end of it, we're going to come back together and we're going to laugh about it, or we're going to learn from it, or whatever that is.
It is.
You're not going to necessarily be punishing them for what happened.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So how do you carry all of this into your role as a leader of the organization that you're with today, or even at the marathon?
Yeah. Well, even like for today, what it does, because again, I went through it was a crazy, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in a marathon and in planning that nobody understands. So when, I got to a point where I just got burnt out and had grown the event to be, this major event in the city, and I had prepared the next team to take over. And I was like, it's time for me to get out of the way. I created, a great legacy with this event, and it's time for the next people to pick up the torch. So I ended up then that was like right before COVID, it was 2019.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So I was consulting with other marathons across the United States because I was really good at pulling ancillary revenue streams, diversifying revenues, looking, organizational processes and systems in operations. And so I was working with these other events. Some were global events, some were national events and local events. And then COVID happened and I lost all those contracts within 3 weeks.
Wow.
So I was looking at, what am I going to do next? I always want to do something that's meaningful. And coming from rural Montana, I didn't have the best education. My algebra teacher at the time told me I didn't need to know math. I was a girl. And I literally had to take remedial courses to get into college classes when I got my scholarship because I was not prepared.
Sure.
And so I ended up, that became a huge thing for me is education. Is when I got to college, a whole new world opened up for me. And I was so absorbing everything, learning everything. And I did go through all the way up to all Calc 2 and then sent back my transcript to the math teacher and said, girls can do math.
Good for you.
So
I love that.
Good for you. So, did you get a response?
No. So I, from there was like, well, education is that other thing for me. And I started looking at other education, and I feel like the energy you put into something and put out there is really important. It's going to come back to you.
Yes.
And that's another reason to be positive, right? Because if I had a negative attitude about surviving in the Bob Marshall wilderness and hunting and fishing and planting corn and potatoes and all the things, I would have just curled up in a ball and just had a miserable life.
And if you believed that algebra teacher, that girls can't do math, it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy. So instead you went, yes, I can. And you went hard and you
used
did
it as a challenge.
Yes.
To challenge you. You're not accepting this as your main character doesn't accept that she can't do math.
But I want to keep coming back to this because I'm still so interested, and it's somewhat of a nature versus nurture conversation. Because do you feel like you always had that in you, that belief in yourself, belief that there's more, desire for more, positivity?
You know what? So I'm going to pause that because I think one way, not to prove it one way or the nature versus nature, are your sister and brother the same as you?
So yes.
So they were raised in the same way, had the same experiences, and have this positive outlook, this can-do, resourceful, resilience, all the things.
And funny.
That's amazing.
Unfortunately, my brother passed away, but my sister, when we get together, she's a
dynamo too.
Oh, she's hilarious. We're joking about everything all the time. And, it's really kind of funny. And then she is in Montana. She has an elk ranch. She basically helped build the ranch with her husband. And she is has amazing work ethic, amazing resourcefulness initiative. And we use humor to get through it.
Sure.
Because there's challenge.
That's
so basically,
remarkable.
we should all drop our kids in the forest.
Yes. that's what I'm getting out of this.
That's what I'm hearing.
But
it's too late for all of our kids.
Well, no, our kids don't like that anymore, right? You're mean.
Well, but you didn't really like it either.
No,
but you did.
No. Yeah.
And you learned from it.
Exactly.
It would not go so well today.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean,
Yeah.
You would probably be called for abuse.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
right.
There'd
Well,
be
your
a
kids
case.
see differences too. And,
Yes.
you know, even, you know, my kids would be like, well, where are we going for spring break, Mom? Are we going to the all-inclusive like our friends? And
Right.
I'd be like, nope,
Right.
I got to work on the marathon. You're coming in and volunteering.
No. We're going to the woods.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's not glamping.
No, it's foundational. So
Can your kids fish and hunt
Yeah.
and do all of those things?
So they've been on hunting trips. They have not killed anything. They do fish.
yeah.
They are outdoorsy
Mhm.
and they're pretty resilient. They
Mhm.
all are self-sufficient at this
Mhm.
point,
Mhm.
and they're getting through their 20s right now, and probably like thinking they had to grow up a little harder than their friends.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a little different of a situation today, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
doing well.
I
Good.
think about your story and your dad and your relationship with your dad. And Maria and I both, you know, I could certainly consider myself a daddy's girl, but we've both lost our dads.
Mhm.
And, you know, we still talk about our dads to each other and to other, you know, people, contemporaries. And I think about this as, and I might be over romanticizing
Yeah.
it, but I think about your story almost as a love letter to your dad because he helped create and shape the woman that you are. And so to have him still in your life and be able to talk about and laugh about,
Yeah.
do you remember that time that you
Yeah.
dropped us, like those kind of things? What a gift to be able to have come full circle
Mhm.
and not only have had the experience, but now have the fruit of that experience start to, you know, blossom in your own children.
Yeah.
Like it's so beautiful to me to have
Mhm.
that story,
Yeah. And
as hard as it was.
it's a big journey. It's been
It's
a
a
big
big
journey
journey.
to get here.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. Yes.
my mother was a really big part of, you know, the soft side, but she also was an
Yes.
incredible humor,
Mhm.
and has really, well, she's doing amazing. She ended up going to jail she was an alcoholic
Okay.
and ended up going to jail, and she has been sober now for I think 25 years.
Wow. Good for her.
And so I got a mom back and, you know,
Mhm.
later in life,
Mhm.
which was great because
Mhm.
growing up, a lot of times she wasn't really present.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And her life was hard too. I mean, our lives were
Absolutely.
all hard. And,
Yeah.
you know, it
The
was,
combination. Wow.
yeah.
So this, I have to go into a related topic, which is what about forgiveness? Is there a lot of forgiveness that had to
Yes.
happen for you in that? And if so, how did you get there? Because that is big. All of these things that you're talking about
Mhm.
easily for anyone could turn more into resentment
Yeah.
and anger and distance. And you've gotten to the place that you are, which I understand has been a journey for you, assuming that forgiveness has been a
Yeah.
part of that. How did you get there?
It's easy because I didn't want to not have a relationship with
Mhm.
either
It's
Okay.
with the
choices.
people. It's a choice of,
Mhm.
I think, you know, I had a grandmother who spent a lot of time with us, and she was an unconditional love, pure love.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But she was also went through extreme hardship and was very resilient. And literally, I feel like it is a choice of, you know, if you're going to forgive somebody. I mean, for my mom, it was, okay, you're sober and I want my mom in my
Mhm.
life.
Yes.
And me hanging on to some package or baggage of all the other stuff, it doesn't make sense. So I want to drop that off.
Mhm.
And I dropped it and I didn't have it anymore because when she made her change,
Mhm.
for me, I was just grateful. And I guess it's having a spirit of gratefulness
Mhm.
Yes.
in life
Yes.
and being grateful for what you do have. Because even today, I mean, if you go through hardship, real hardship, like we went through, you know, even today, like we had many camping trips where water's dripping on you all night and you're in a
Mhm.
tent or you're cold or whatever,
Mhm.
in Montana winters and growing up surviving.
Mhm.
I still am grateful for everything I have today.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for everyone. And I just
Mhm.
don't hang on to those negative emotions because it doesn't do me any good.
Mhm.
I have to move past it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so that just takes working through on your own. Again, I'm reading about myself as a character. Do I want my character to be down in the dumps and
Mhm.
blaming all these other people
Mhm.
for
Yes.
for how you what happens in your life when you can choose what happens in your life. If you give yourself that power and you're almost taking the power away from yourself by choosing not to be grateful.
Oh, that's a good point. You're taking the power away from yourself. That's a really good way of putting it.
If you're becoming helpless, if you hang on to it, you're helpless.
That victim mentality.
Yes.
Victim.
Yes. Now, do you think that specifically with your mother, do you feel like the key for you to dropping off that baggage was the fact that she was able and willing to change?
Yes.
Okay. Because that I think is really important for a lot of people, which is if your mother hadn't been willing and able to change, would you be in the same place?
Would you be able to forgive her?
Would you be able to forgive her in the same way or move on in the same way? What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like you protect yourself, right? So I would most likely have a relationship of some sort, but like how deep is that relationship? I feel it would be important to have that relationship and tie, but it may be I interact every 6 months. And that's how I can be the best daughter to
so
her.
So you keep arm's length, but there's still a relationship.
But I'm still going to have love. And because I do feel love is the most powerful key thing for all of us. And if it's every 6 months and she's not making a change, and I can still show her love every 6 months and not take away from who I am, but it's also part of giving her that spark that I'm still there, a daughter. And if there's that way for her to break free, then it's there.
Yes.
But I didn't have to do that, which was good. But it's just keeping the distance between those people who are harmful to your ego and your body.
That protection, I don't think that everybody does that successfully enough. I think there's they're family. And because they're family, they're entitled to treat you in any way. But as, I don't even want to say grown-ups, as just humans, we should have the right to choose, one, how we get treated. But, you said a couple of things that I just want to go back to. The gratitude is huge for me. And I don't think that's something that some, like the kids understand as well. I understand you're mad about this, or I understand that you're, whatever it is, but be thankful for the things that you do. Sometimes it's hard to get past like being in that grip and going, no, but I'm in this place, and immediately going, okay, but you know what? I do have this.
Yeah.
And so hearing you say that and how it contributes to your own positivity. And then the other part of it was the blaming piece is like, you hear people when you have these conversations and there's never a time that they take ownership for what's creating, what has been created around them. And sometimes for me, I take blame more than I should just because I want to move past it.
Yes.
I don't want to keep, you know what? I'm sorry that happened. Yes. Got it. Okay. No problem. So we can move on.
Yeah.
I don't avoiding the conflict of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not conflict avoidant. It's just more like, that they're never going to take any kind of ownership and you're going to be stuck in this space. And I refuse to be stuck in this space. So if it takes me apologizing for something I didn't do, happy to do it. I'm happy to apologize.
Right, because you just want to move on.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to get stuck. And that's one of my biggest gifts as well as curse, because sometimes I do take ownership of things that they don't belong to me. They don't belong to me. I'm going to take it anyway, just because let's go.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it goes into accountability.
Yes.
So you're saying ownership, but accountability. And I hear that word more frequently from a professional standpoint, which is how do we get people at work to take accountability for their actions? But it's all related, right? It's in your mentality.
Absolutely.
It's in how you were brought up. It's in what your belief system is.
Yes.
And it's difficult to see when folks don't have that ability.
And you know what I think it comes from? And it's just my opinion, of course, but I think that some people who have a hard time taking accountability suffered from severe consequences. And so instead of going, I did that, like, I didn't do that. I genuinely believe that's where it came from, because they're so fearful. And as a leadership team, we have the responsibility, like you were talking about with the, let's take pictures of the damage that's happened and we'll laugh at it later. Leaders don't do that enough. Instead, there's more of that blame. There's more of that, instead of making it okay.
Creating the safety.
We're not perfect, right? Having that safety. We're not perfect. We weren't all born with instruction manuals. We don't know how to operate all the time. And so saying we're all going to F up, we're all going to do the thing, and it's okay. We're going to learn from that. You know what? I've got your back. whatever happens, I've got your back, and then we'll figure out how to do it differently next time. And so for people who grew up in a different society, whether it's at home or at work, it's so hard to just go, I did that.
It's
Sorry,
a reprogramming.
It's total
a
reprogramming
of their brain
yes.
that needs to happen, which
yes.
is a really big task on leaders.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know it shows up in, different value statements and, we're going to take accountability and,
right.
All of those things. But what is the leadership doing to help that happen? It's one thing to go, you need to own up to your responsibilities, but it's another thing to go, and if you do, we got you.
Yeah. Yeah. Or what about when the leaders aren't able to take accountability themselves?
Right.
Because that happens
really
too.
a lot.
Yes.
That happens too,
Yes.
which is then they're the ones also pointing the finger and not taking, it's just,
Yeah. We have to create the culture where safety for all of the reasons to be who you are, to be how you are, is okay. It's okay.
Being okay with the dumpster fires.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, and I tell my people, because I always look at it from risk mitigation. And I say to them, hey, if something didn't go right or something got messed up, let's talk about it. Because if somebody else comes to talk to me about the thing that got messed up and that was bad, it means I have nothing to defend you with.
Right.
I have nothing to protect you. I have no solution other than
and
to come
I want
to you. Right. And if I have to hear it from somebody else, then it may not go as you wanted because you didn't even proactively.
You were caught by surprise.
Yeah. And we had one time, one of our waivers got really messed up and about 15,000 runners needed to sign a new waiver. And the only reason I feel like that happened is because of that culture of accountability where the person was able to say, hey, I made a mistake. This wrong waiver was attached. And this is going to impact this many people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, grab so-and-so and let's get in the conference room and let's work our way out of it. And we were able to solve that in 3 days. But if that person didn't come to me because they were afraid, then it would be a different thing.
For sure.
Even now in my role, that's what I'm always telling our team is come to me first. Tell me what's happening.
Yes.
Because if I get the report, it may not look good for you based on what that other person is saying to me.
Absolutely. And there's nothing you can do once the cat's out of the bag or that toothpaste has left the tube.
Yes.
Right? It's the same kind of thing. One of the things I try to do when I go into new situations where I'm in charge, so to speak, is, and I probably overuse this statement, like, we don't do brain surgery here.
Yes.
Nobody's going to die if we make a mistake.
Yes.
We can fix most of the things that happen. So let's fix it.
Exactly.
Whatever's going on, let's fix it. And so I try to lead with that and start with that so they know that's who I am. And I genuinely mean it. Like, I don't care who did what. I just want to fix the problem. And more importantly, I want you to know how to fix the problem.
Exactly.
So that you can fix it. I don't have to do it. I don't want to be your rescuer.
Yeah.
It's not my job.
Yeah.
So let's figure it out together. And I think that helps, it helps create that culture. But again, we go back to, there's a lot of people that don't have us, right? So what are the things that we can put out there and help others? What's helped you? What do we do? Because I think it's important, that accountability is, I think it's what prevents a lot of people from moving forward in their lives.
It absolutely does. Yeah.
Because there's a fear.
So. Right.
It's
fear-based.
Yeah.
But there's a really good, so the other piece that I didn't talk to you guys about was that I was married to a Navy SEAL for, I think we were together for about 26 years.
Okay.
Oh gosh.
But between dating and marriage.
Yeah.
And so that is a whole different mindset I learned along the way.
Yeah.
Because that's an extreme ownership mindset.
Yes.
And so that has really, really helped a lot in the extreme accountability, integrity, and how to move past the things.
Yeah.
And how to take that responsibility, own it, correct it, and move forward the best way possible.
For sure.
And that's it.
Yes. So I don't want to psychoanalyze, but it's interesting.
We often joke that we need a couch in
we
here
do.
somewhere.
And there's that, but it's not good enough. I think about, so you were raised by a father who was, I don't want to say disciplinarian because you didn't speak to that, but definitely had a specific way that he felt like each of you should experience life. And it was hard work and it was, building these skills. And then you found a man or ended up with a man who
Yeah.
also had a very specific way because of his military background.
Yeah.
And so would you say that you gravitate toward more structural, not just roles, but you like a structured way of doing things, or are you more loosey-goosey?
I both. I have both. And that's the other
Interesting.
side is there's like comfort in the structure. And
Mm-hmm.
well, it's also, I find that mindset to have integrity, right?
Mhm.
And to be accountable. And so, I think it's really, I did gravitate towards another military because that's what I
Mhm.
knew. And,
Right.
and my dad kind of raised us in the, as a military.
Absolutely.
And so it was really good to have the structure.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it was a lot because the other side of me also was kind of pushed down
Mm-hmm.
where it created.
Like that freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my goofy, but being goofy, I think I
Uh-huh.
brought that levity to him because he's all boom, 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 boom. Like these things
Yes.
happen no matter what, and it will do X, Y, Z. And
Yes.
then I come into the picture with glitter all over the floor, at the table.
And that's what he
And
needed
we're
in
doing
his life.
projects with
Yes.
the kids and bubbles
Yes.
and so there were both those things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the kids got the best of both worlds.
I hope they did. Yeah.
Mhm.
What they
Mhm.
say now is like, I don't know.
Let's have them on next.
Yeah. Why don't you have them on next? Yeah.
Let's get their story.
Well, my daughter will keep you laughing the whole time because she picked up the same humor.
did
So,
she?
That's
yeah.
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and Maria and I talk about this all the time. We both really love humor.
Yes.
We love,
Yeah. We laugh a lot.
We do. We laugh a lot. We love being around other funny people.
Yeah.
And to me, humor is a sign of intelligence.
Yes.
Somebody that can figure out the right timing to,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. drop that line. It's just so creative and it's smart and it's just so attractive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we definitely love that.
And
Yeah.
it helps to not take life too seriously.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
being
We talk
able to
about
laugh.
joy
Yes.
a lot, that it's missing in a lot of places. So
Yes.
humor definitely adds some.
It is.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
I do need to ask, do you think you feel joy?
Do I feel joy?
Yes.
All the time. All the time.
Okay.
Even in little things. Just little
Really?
things. All the little, yeah. Like a
That's
coffee,
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
cappuccino in the morning makes
Yeah.
me so happy
Yeah.
and thankful. And that's where I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah. That gratitude is connected.
yeah. And if you had sparsity
Mm-hmm.
in growing up
Yeah.
and always remembering to be grateful for what you do have, because if something were to happen, your life circumstances can change in
Yes.
an instant.
Yes.
And so you
Mhm.
have to really enjoy what you have.
I think that's interesting, that statement of sparsity.
Yes.
And really, because you've experienced that, it's helpful to be able to see all that you do have.
Mhm.
And I wonder, we talk about one of my colleagues, he was on a podcast and he mentioned something that just really stuck with me. And what he said was they were talking about creativity and they were talking about AI and all
Yeah.
of that. And what he was talking about, he's a psychologist, and he said, because kids aren't bored anymore, there's no boredom.
No, there isn't.
The
Yeah.
creativity is lacking as well, because in boredom, when you were a kid, you would imagine an entire new life.
Mhm.
You would create a game. You would make up something,
Yes.
whatever it was, you had to be resourceful. You had to figure it out. And boredom created that.
Yep.
Kids are not bored anymore.
No.
Mhm.
And so I think about that when you talk about scarcity and gratitude. They're not necessarily opposing ideas, but one can beget the other. And it's the same thing with boredom and creativity. And what else are we missing?
Mhm.
By not
Mhm.
being able to, or now
Right.
having everything,
Mhm.
Right.
And so again, we tongue in cheek say we're just going to drop kids in the woods with nothing.
Yeah.
That might not, that's another extreme, but
Right.
what can we do to bring that back? Because
Yeah.
I
We need it.
mourn
We
some of
need
that
to.
We do.
for sure. And some of it to me, where you asked the question about joy, and you light up, Patrice.
Yes.
You've got such a
Yeah.
bubbly, beautiful
energy.
If I could read auras, I would say you have a beautiful aura. But you do. You have this energy that is positive to you. It just exudes from you.
It's magnetic.
It is.
Oh,
and we're
there we
missing.
go.
I don't say we're missing it, but
Because I'm a main character. I
You
have my own
are.
book going on.
we're secondary characters that need joy.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
To invent that. But
Yeah.
there's also, I think,
Yeah.
the quiet is the other thing that, with saying that kids don't have an opportunity to be bored.
Yes.
They also don't have an opportunity to be quiet and sit with themselves.
Yeah.
So they don't
or they're afraid to.
Yeah, because they don't know themselves. They
Right.
don't know themselves, and there's what's that language, that thing going on in the head with social media and negativity and bullying and all of that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's even like capturing those moments, and that's what church is a good thing for, is being quiet and having to be somewhere. And they hate it because they have to be quiet. And
right. And they can't look at their phones.
It's not what they want to do.
Stuff.
And I felt like church was always that opportunity for them to learn how to try to be quiet. And seek solace in quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point. Just finding quiet places to sit with. I remember, so I have a girlfriend who we were raised similarly, definitely same time period. And then when she started having children, you have the minivans with the fold down things. And so there was never a time that they weren't watching TV. So the minute they got in the car, the screens went on. They got to school and then they did whatever. They got back in the car and the screens went on. And I mean, I love the fact that they know many of the cultural references that I know, because like Friends was our thing. And then they watched Friends with all the girls are friends. But I also think about when I was in a car before all screens and stuff like that. And we would do the license plate game.
Yes.
And we would, do the A, apple, B, and you'd go around the car,
or I Spy.
I Spy, exactly.
Yeah.
All the things that you did in the car to occupy time that were creative and, did things to you and formulated relationships versus we're sitting quietly. Yeah, you're quiet, but you're still being stimulated in a different way. I miss that. It's a shame.
Well, and I think that's what we do now with Junior Achievement. That's really what my huge focus is what else can I do to help make our corner of the world a little better? And really trying to find things that the kids get excited and inspired by, to see what we can do and how we can affect change.
Yes.
And I think, it's teaching our kids this, because they're not learning it anymore, and it's not automatically built in because people are so busy. So it's how do we prepare our kids for life? And a lot of these kids aren't being prepared. I mean, my daughter her friend went to visit her. She's 20. My daughter's 25. And she was, let's go to the grocery store with her friend to go get food for their, when she's there. And she had to literally call her mom to say, "Mom, what kind of cheese do I like?" And I feel like that kind of is indicative of our society today. And as us as mothers who we want to give our kids everything we didn't have. But sometimes we give them too much. And sometimes we help them too much. And I feel like that's a consequence, is you have a young lady now who is a young professional who doesn't even know what kind of cheese she likes. And has to call. So
that's a great example. I mean, it's because it's those small details. It's a small little, but it's an everyday task that hasn't been
and it's
ingrained.
Learning about yourself. And that's, I think, the thing you have to be. How do you help your kids learn about themselves? That's a huge, I think, success factor. Maybe as I think about it, like that's some of what I had to learn growing up in the wilderness and doing all of the stuff I did, is I had to learn about myself, how I could get myself to do things that were uncomfortable. How did I have to think about those things? How did I process things that were hard? How did I overcome those things that are hard? And so those are the things I think that's our kids are missing today.
For sure.
So,
For sure.
Yeah.
As a kid, junior high, so I grew up when it was junior high, it wasn't middle school. And in junior high, in Greensboro, North Carolina, I did junior achievement. The whole class did it. And then I volunteered as a junior achievement aide when I worked at City in a second grade classroom. And I was very impressed with the materials that Junior Achievement provided. I don't know if they still do this, but I had this big cardboard cutout that I brought in, and we had a bunch of stickers, which kids love stickers. I still love stickers. But, and I remember going through, so I was in finance, I was in banking. And so having the ability to talk to second graders, which was a foreign experience, but hearing, depending on the questions that were being asked, you can tell which kids were being prepared in different ways than other kids. And so having the opportunity to kind of bring them to the same place, obviously their teachers were doing that as well. And I had such a small impact. I think it was like for 8 weeks, and I was in the classroom once a week. It was wonderful. And so, Maria and I, chit chat, of course, about different things that we're both working on. And when she mentioned that she was working with Junior Achievement, I was like, it just really brought some really good memories back, because to your point, being able to skill up kids, young adults in ways that unfortunately aren't being taught in other places because of time or whatever, skill set, knowledge, what have you, I think is such a cool place to be. And so you're mentioning that you were looking for, a way to give back is such a great thing because again, the future of America is on the shoulders of these children that we're raising.
Yes.
And so you have an opportunity to help shape that in a small and large way.
Yeah. And it's a hands-on, and a volunteer like you could change the trajectory for somebody or open their eyes to something that you didn't even know, that they didn't even know.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. When I first visited the facility in Pennsylvania, I was in awe. I was just really taken by what happens there. And without going into all of the details, found myself feeling like, oh my goodness, I wish I had this as a child.
Yes.
I also wish that my son had gone through this when he was younger, because now he's aged out, so to speak.
Yeah.
And just really what an amazing kind of mission and opportunity
I agree.
to help kids. So yeah. So I think we're ready to kind of wrap up for this conversation for today, but this has been amazing. We're so thankful you came to talk with us so much in this conversation.
Yes.
I'd love to leave it, since we're talking about positivity, on a positive note. Can you share something maybe that you're excited about right now that's going on either professionally or personally?
Yeah, I would say like professionally, what we're really doing is looking at, again, how are we going to change our corner of the world in Western Pennsylvania? And that would be by hands-on experiences that students get to partake in, that teach them life lessons. Because I look at it from the perspective of, we have sports nailed in America, right? There's club team, elite team, travel team, rec team, but nobody's really doing the in the gap like what we're doing. So when your soccer career doesn't work out, or basketball or whatever, our opportunity is to show them life skills that they will use for the rest of their lives. And I feel like, we will change lives this way. And
100%.
When I look at, if we want to build another experiential learning center, that would be, we already have one from 4th to 6th grade. This would take it from 7th to 12th grade. This will transform our region.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And mine was in, like I said, junior high. And I remember there being older kids there as well. Like we were brought to the junior achievement site by a bus. And that in itself was an adventure. And so I'd like to give you an opportunity, because there are people that I've spoken to that don't know about junior achievement or think it is a local thing. It's national.
Yes.
Right.
And so would you just tell our listeners a little bit about what junior achievement does, what its goal and mission is? Because I cannot encourage people enough to look into what junior achievement does and either volunteer or get your kid involved.
Yeah.
So please tell people what it is so that
So junior achievement really prepares students for a global workplace, right? To enter the global workplace in a global economy. So we're a global organization. We've been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 3 times.
It's amazing.
And we are really focused on career-connected learning. That's a big, a disconnect right now with students coming out of college, not understanding how to assimilate in the workplace. We can start this. The earlier we start it, the better it is. The massive amounts of jobs that need to be filled in the next 5 to 10 years is so incredible that we're there in America. There are going to be workforce gaps in the trades, manufacturing.
Sure.
So we're really trying to introduce as many opportunities to students so that they see that there's a multitude of careers that they can choose from. And if they don't want to go to college, they can have an amazing career in a manufacturing facility or skilled trades. And those students likely will be earning 6 figures by the time they're late 20s.
Right.
And it's showing those opportunities. It's showing, even if you did decide to work and not get your degree right away, those companies will provide tuition reimbursement 100% in some instances.
Right. That's
so
amazing.
It's career-connected learning, teaching them the difference between an email and a text. How do you dress for work? How do you dress for your boss's barbecue? How do you shake a hand and make a winning impression in the first 6 seconds?
Make eye contact.
Exactly. Nobody's doing that. So we're filling in that gap. So that's one thing. And the other piece is financial literacy. That is a huge problem in America right now with students racking up lots of credit
Massive
card debts
debt.
as well as student loan debt and not understanding what interest is and how that affects their long-term game. So we're teaching kids how to manage household budgets and putting them into simulations in which they're given a career. They may be an engineer and then they have 2 kids and their household income is $85,000. They take taxes out. You save 10%. You pay your student loans. Now you go and you make your household decisions, and it's becoming.
Can you sit down with me and we can talk?
Yes, exactly. Well, I see it
Maybe
like
that would be senior achievement.
Exactly. It's like, but we want the nice cars, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But what do you mean I can't afford groceries?
Exactly.
Right.
I was with a young girl who had she was selecting her all the things she wanted and all the things that she had to buy, going bare minimum on groceries and everything to get the car, to get the house. Her lifestyle that she chose was $365,000. And she couldn't figure out how to make it balance. And I'm like, gotta get rid of the car, gotta get rid of the house, gotta get rid of that. And she was really upset with me. And I said, do you see how this is working? And she said, oh my gosh, now I know why my mom says we can't afford things.
Oh,
It
It's a good light bulb
She was
moment.
able to connect that to.
As a mom, they don't listen to you, but they will, when they're walking through a simulation, they will listen and learn from other people. And so that is something, the financial literacy part. There are actually students in certain school districts across America who no longer understand what a coin is and that 4 quarters equal $1. And so financial literacy is super, super important. And then it's also about entrepreneurship. Because we have all these, you can be an Uber driver, you can be,
absolutely,
you can do so many
DoorDash,
everything. You can manage your own business. Being an entrepreneur is the fastest way to get out of poverty and to break the poverty cycle in America. And that's where we need to teach kids to feel empowered to go out and do something on their own and that they are in charge of their own life and that nobody's dictating what they have to do when they're an adult. Of course, they will probably feel that way, but it's it's opening their world in a different way and showing them what needs to happen in order to go into a business. And we work with students who have their own businesses and we help connect the dots. We have 1 patent pending right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he is amazing. He's only a sophomore in high school.
That's incredible.
And
that's incredible.
Yeah, and we have another girl who went through our professional development. She is now an intern at NASA. So if you show students, and our kids are super savvy, they're super resourceful, they have an initiative, they don't know how to apply it, they don't know what to do with it. And sometimes their parents don't either. But that's something we can help with, right? We help students connect the dots. We help find a mentor for them. We help find, job shadows so they see what a day in the life is like.
Right.
And we'll have we had a student who wanted to be a lineman. And,
perfect.
When she found out she had to climb ladders and get up high, she's like, oh no.
Never mind.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that a really great time to figure that out?
Yes.
Instead of getting that degree, instead of getting that certificate or apprenticeship, you figure this out in high school.
Before you go in.
Yeah, the shadowing is so important.
Yes.
I remember that was really important for me. I didn't do much of it, but I remember thinking I was on a certain path until same thing, I shadowed. At the time, I thought I was going to be an attorney. And my dad knew an attorney that he had me shadow for the day. And I was like, oh, I didn't exactly know that's what attorneys did. And I don't think that's for me.
Because their only reference is what they see on TV and in the movies.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It
glamorizes that thing. And so I think it would be really useful when we put our description together for this episode, we'll link to the Junior Achievement National site. We'll do whatever we can because I can't say enough that I've had my own personal experience in 2 different ways as a user and then a volunteer, which makes me really want to volunteer again. And so I will absolutely do that. It's so important. So as we wrap up, just know that we'll include more information about junior achievement so that people can find more information out about it. Of course, you can go to the website.
Exactly.
And go look for it yourself.
Right. And
use your resources.
Right. Junior achievement is in every state. And there's the Jacksonville officers. We're in Western PA with Pittsburgh, Johnstown, Erie, and 56 counties. So, and Northern West Virginia. So junior achievement is accessible. It's
Absolutely.
every state. So
Yep. Okay. This was wonderful.
Yes.
So
thank
grateful.
you. And it was a great
Yes.
conversation, I think.
For
Is there
sure.
anything else you'd want to leave with before we wrap up?
I just feel like, I really would want to empower other people
Mhm.
to develop their main character in life and stop focusing on all the other things and start developing the character you here.
Mhm.
For sure. I have a question.
Yeah.
That I'm thinking. So when are you running for office?
I'm sorry. I don't,
When is your campaign starting?
my character doesn't like that.
Your character doesn't like that? Okay, because my character really wants that to happen.
Same.
Right?
Same.
We're just like, yeah.
I will be on that campaign plan with you.
It's always a good story later.
It is always a good story later.
Goodness.
Thank
well,
you.
again, thank you so much. We are
Yes.
really grateful to have you here
So
today. It was a
much.
lot of fun. So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. Thank you always for tuning in. We hope that you enjoyed this conversation as well. Please, as always, like, subscribe, share, email us if you have questions. And we hope to see you back next time.
And check out Junior Achievement.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.